My last competition was the European Championships in Poland, and I had an awful day. So here's what happened, why it happened, and how you can avoid those mistakes, what you should do instead. And if you stay to the end, we're gonna give you something special. So opening squat was at 205. This was actually dropped. I played with the idea of it being yeah, it is 205. With it being 202 or 207, because squats in training had been pretty good. But in training, I didn't get to train with a squat bar, which is what I used here. And I knew that was going to throw me off a little bit. It threw me off a lot. So lesson number one, after he hits this opener, and it feels terrible, is training with the kit you're going to use in competition. This monolift really threw me off. It was a really different surrounding, which I was not prepared for, and all I would have had to do is go to a gym with one of these and train with it regularly. So if you're prepping for comp, maybe go use the kit you're going to use on competition day. Yeah, special, leave me alone. Okay. So this is my second attempt. Now, the first one, like I said, it didn't feel fantastic, but it was 3 white lights. I was happy with depth. I'd been told that 2 of the refs are ex-IPF refs from France, and that they were being really, really harsh. So after the opener, I thought I was absolutely sound. So we come out for the second, a little bit more hyped because the first is in, nerves are down, and we'll see how that goes. Okay, setup was similar. I remember this not feeling great on my back. 25 kilo bar is actually a little bit thicker, and I'm a small dude, so that did feel like it was sitting off my back pretty heavily, but still pretty stable on the walkout. Looks solid to start. Gets the start command. Brace is all right. Depth looks great on that, but shaky as hell. Shook his head because I wasn't happy with how it moved. And 2 red lights. So that really surprised me because I lost balance in the bottom position and I knew I'd squatted too low. Having done that and got 2 red lights for depth really confused me. Now, I'm not saying I squat really, really low all of the time, but especially with how the opener had moved, I know it wasn't any higher. So you work with what you have on the day. So I retook this for my 3rd attempt. And this is another lesson from competition day. If you do miss a lift, especially if it's on something that you're not 100% sure you can correct, retaking is the most sensible move. You don't want to then lose a load of kilos because you pushed harder than you needed to. Okay, so 3rd attempt, obviously resetting for the same one. A little bit frustrated at this point, just at myself more than anything else. But dialed in with the setup. Was pretty heavy on trying to make sure the bar wedge was better. So doubling down on my standards, given the squat command, and move smoother. Weird sticking point that I do not regularly have. And 1 red light still, but we got 2, so we're in and we're good. Like I say, I know on my 3rd, I actually squatted higher than my 2nd, based on how it felt. So sometimes you've got to play the day. You can whine and you can bitch about the reffing that you have, which I think is really weak from athletes, or you can say, like, this is what happens and I'm gonna figure it out. He says that now. Wait till we get to bench and then we can see how we talk about that one then. Okay, so for bench, there's not that much that changes with equipment, except, and I didn't see this coming, at the bottom of the bench, usually there is space for you to put your feet. On this specific bench, which I have actually not seen in competition for a very long time, there was the leg at the base. Now this was exactly where my feet would go. So it wasn't just straight down, it was a T. And typically my feet go right by the upright, and I was not prepared for that change. Now, I did give myself the opportunity of getting into the warm-up room early, having a feel with it, but it meant a substantial change to technique, which meant my rib cage was lower than I'm used to. That's a pretty massive difference, which I didn't anticipate. So, warm-ups felt okay, but I didn't feel confident with it. Luckily, they had the same bench in the warm-up room as they had on the platform. So, we did work with it as best we could, but I dropped the opener by 2.5 just to get my confidence up. And I will say, the commands on the day were quick. Like, everyone was having absolute zooms. As soon as it stopped, they were getting a really fair, very quick command for the press. And under those conditions, I was like, I can smash something big out here. I feel pretty good for it. So then we get to my opener. Opening bench at 142.5. Handout is from Rach. In this federation, you're allowed to lift out, which makes a big difference. And I felt pretty confident that at least this was going to be golden. So felt all good on the setup. Like I say, a little bit odd on the foot position that I was having to work with, but here we are. Now, start, and then a 2 count on the pause. Didn't anticipate that, and that did shake my confidence ever so slightly. Now, I don't know if it's because I was too fast on the way down. Maybe there was a bit of a bounce. On the video, it just looks like a long pause. And I was the only one in the flight, so I thought there might be something that I was doing that was different. I wasn't sure what was going on. Now, because I did not feel very confident off the back of it being a longer pause than expected after watching the flight, I decided to only make a 5 kilo jump. Now, for context, in prep, I hit a 147 bench at like a 6. And so I was very, very confident of seeing at least 155 on the day. And so to play 147 on the second was disappointing because I was aiming for like 150 on the second and then see what was left. I was actually initially aiming for 145 and then 152 and then maybe all the way up to 160. So we're already on my second at 147. Not what we were after, but we're playing the day. I would love to say I kept that mentality the entire time. Now this was the 147 second attempt. Setup's the same way, and after the extended pause, I thought I'll make sure I'm a bit more controlled on the second. So we start, same extended pause, and for the first time in probably 2 years, I failed 147, which has not happened. I think the most I've got stuck on was 150, which was a grind. So after that, I literally was like, if I'm getting this pause, I don't know what to do. That's on me for not training to that standard. That same bit of advice, repeated again, second time. Making sure that you're being harsh with the quality of pauses. This is why I had 3 count in my training. It's why I had tempo work in my training. And so just making sure that you are prepping to that standard makes a world of difference. And again, my own silly fault for not being more prepared for this. It's disappointing, but you have to work with it. Okay, so third attempt. Now, obviously, having just failed it, I'm coming back out for 147. My mentality was not great at this point. I had really wanted to do a lot more, but it came down to, I'm not going to let this be the last lift. I'm not gonna be embarrassed by the fact of just finishing with a 142. So I came out in a very different atmosphere, which was me having fun, laughing. I even said to Rach as we unwrapped, how hard can it be? Having a bit of a joke. Taking that stress off and shifting the frame made a world of difference. Now, I'm not gonna say this was great because it was still work. Dropped fast on the way down to get the pause quicker. It was still a long pause, but I'm happier, and to have finished 147 was at least something better. And then we won't talk about my chat with the ref. We were all friendly, it was fun. So Spencer has just reminded me that we should talk about the fact that this was a big mental game day. See, I had really big expectations. I was so excited for this competition. Prep had been amazing. And going from, I'm going to be able to do X, and then having to shift the goalposts narrower to, I'm just going to do today, was kind of an acceptance. And accepting that there were not excuses, but reasons. Whether it was the fact that we started warming up at like 5 a.m., which I was not prepared for, had not slept, had handled, and the fact that the strength wasn't there. And that does happen. And it was crap to know that I was not going to be able to have that performance. But realizing the hand you're dealt of what day you have in front of you and then making the best of that situation is important. You're not going to turn up and it be predictable every single time. There's an amount of data where maybe it's going to say, this should be a good day, but you're going to have to play with what's given to you. Okay, so then we move to deadlift. Now, by this point, I'm going to be frank, I was wrecked. I did not feel fantastic, whether it was the early start or the fact that I just haven't done a competition in a number of years. I was feeling it. And obviously, from squats and bench, I knew strength was not where I'd hoped it to be. But I was going to go out on my shield. We were going to give it my absolute all. So the opener sat at 255. Now, in training, I had pulled 270 on something like 2 hours sleep on that final day of prep, which is what it is. And then the anticipation was an allowance of up to 280, which I knew I had in the tank. But I also knew as soon as I did my last warm-up, it wasn't going to be today. So 255 is the opener, all fueled by caffeine and hype and 3 scoops of pre to try to get me through to the end of the day. And the opener moves fine. Like, don't be wrong, it's relatively fast, but for where I'd been in training, it wasn't quite what I was hoping for on speed. But also it's on a deadlift bar. And so I've only pulled on that bar for 4 weeks leading into competition. We're seeing a bit of a theme about not training on the kit that you're used to, but training had been going so well, and though I was really excited to do Euros, I did not want to shift all of my training onto new equipment just for the sake of this comp. I was having such a good time in my training, I wanted to make the most of it as it was, so I don't actually know if I regret that one at all, to be honest. So anyway, opener goes okay, and I'm gonna make the jumps that I aimed to do in the first place, which was second attempt gonna be at 270 kilos. Now, I wasn't really paying attention on the day. Winning was set relatively early on. I think once I got to second attempt, we were golden, and I didn't really have to think about that too much, which gave me the freedom of going, we're just gonna give it a go and see what's left. Because I knew if I'd ended with anything less than 270, I wasn't gonna be happy anyway. And so loading it into the second, I actually haven't watched this yet. No, this is the first time I'm seeing it on here. So 270, not bad on the setup. On the push, legs are shaky. Now that looks like there's 5 more kilos in it, and that's probably all you're gonna get. And I'm okay with that because that's the selection I made. My third attempt, we knew 280 was not going to happen, which again, I could live with after the day that I had had. So we put in 275. And well, let's watch together how that went. Okay, so 275 loaded up, 5 reds and a collar. It's aesthetic, it makes sense off of that last pull. And this is the last bit of the day. Now, bearing in mind at this point, I have far from had the day I wanted, but we were gonna give it one last shot to finish on a positive note. Okay, so this is all hype at this point. I know I was drained, I felt wrecked, and it hadn't been the day I wanted, the lovely cliche, but we were gonna give this a damn good go. Set up all good, aggressive, gets to the knee, legs shake like hell, and there's nothing left to give. And I was okay with that. In that moment, I obviously had a bit of time after the competition to kind of review how I was feeling, and it sunk in pretty quickly that it had been a disappointing day. And that's gonna happen. It's been 2 months at this point, and I have very much come to terms with part of the game. I've had bad competitions in the past. I think this was something like my 16th or 17th competition. And yet we're still learning the same lessons. So lesson number 1, train on the equipment that's going to prepare you for your competition day. It's gonna make a world of difference. Lesson number 2, train to the standards. Make sure that you are squatting to depth and checking on that and being harsh. Extended pauses in your training on your bench, and then deadlift, just, picking it up. And then lesson number 3, and this is the most important bit, competition day isn't always going to be in your control. And that does not mean you can't have a great day for other reasons. Whether that's the fact that people lose their head after their squat and then they write off the entire day, they get a bad bench call and they're not even mentally ready for deadlifts. Whatever it is going to be, this is a game of 3 lifts and you have all of the time to achieve each one of them. And whether it's going to be this competition or the next one, like, you have to frame it as, I'm going to give my best that I have today. If you comment below, we will write you a program for free, do a full video explaining how we pick, what what we're going to do for you, why it fits you specifically. We'll do the full talk through. So first person to comment, we'll sort that out. Spencer's going to say.
And if you want to be on that video, if you're happy to be in front of the camera at the end when we talk you through it.
Yeah, you could actually, like, whether it's that you do a Zoom and we do it and we talk through the whole thing and record the call, or whether it's a case that you literally come in and we do this together, depends where you're based. If you're in America, I'm not paying for flights.
And if you come in, you can come in.
And if you do come in to do the video, you can see where we're actually set up.